overnight shootings in the Circle City. Just before 1 a.m., officers were called to Roosevelt Avenue for reports of a person shot. They found one person dead there and were told another person is in stable condition. Plus, just after 12:30 this morning, police responded to reports of a person shot on East New York Street. Investigators say they found a person in critical condition this morning. Police are still working to solve the cases. If you have any information, please contact Crime Stoppers. 9:01 now. Indianapolis police say they're stepping up patrols after a deadly mass shooting. 2 teens have died and at least 5 others are hurt. It all happened around the Arts Garden after 4th of July celebrations. teammates Kyla Russell spoke to a friend of the victim who says they are always on edge.
IMPD has not identified any arrests or suspect for the shooting that left 2 teenagers dead, and friends I spoke to in mourning.
He had a big heart, like he was always there for people. Even if you're not his own, like he would be always there.
Aries White is remembering his friend, known as AZ, one of the 2 teenagers killed in a downtown Indianapolis mass shooting. He was just 16 years old.
Families that's hurt and kids that don't even get to see a life or experience nothing within their time.
IMPD says 7 people between 15 and 21 were shot overnight when hundreds of unsupervised kids were gathered near the Arts Garden. Another teenager, 15 years old, also died at the hospital.
We need our parents and guardians to speak up, to take charge, to be nosy.
Standing next to Mayor Joe Hogsett, IMPD Chief Chris Bailey says the department plans to add new cameras in strategic locations downtown and to increase police presence along with state officers. Authorities also plan to issue stay-away orders for violent or repeat offenders, all in hopes of preventing those already in trouble from going to hotspots downtown. They're renewing efforts to enforce their juvenile curfew, 11 p.m. for kids under 15 and 1 a.m. on Saturdays and Sundays for teens 15 and up.
I'm not so unaware that sometimes parents work and the kids are left to fend for themselves because they have to survive. I'm not aloof to that. And that's why any kind of curfew enforcement needs to be based in help and not punishment.
When 7 teenagers were shot in March of 2024 in nearly the same downtown location, IMPD said it would enforce youth curfew laws. And after 4 months, officers picked up just 3 kids for violating it. And IMPD said it wasn't tracking curfew violations. It's not clear why IMPD stopped enforcement. And Chief Bailey is pleading for parents' help.
Set clear boundaries from parents and guardians to their children. Talk to their kids about what the curfew is. Decide how often they would check in. Pick the best ways to stay in touch. Use technology to know where they are.
People like Aaron Green with Struggle Made Us, who works to combat crimes from young people, says kids need more safe places to go.
We can find outlets to give them things to do because these kids don't have anything to do. So we're telling them not to go in different places where everybody is going, but there's really no safe spaces for them to go where they can kind of be themselves, have fun.
Yeah, I'm not surprised because it seems like when you go somewhere every day, it's always something gonna happen.
When it comes to curfew enforcement, City County Councilor Leroy Robinson, who's also the chairman of the Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee, says there's not enough staffing at the Juvenile Detention Center to intake and process large numbers of minors on the weekends. I'm Kyla Russell for Wish TV and WishTV.com.
Well, IMPD says a person has died after a shooting at Eagle Creek Park. Police say they found 2 men shot on the shore of the river near Lafayette Road. It all happened just after 7:30 on Friday evening. Both victims were taken to the hospital in critical condition. Police tell us that they detained 3 people. Once we get more information about the case, we'll let you know on air and online at WishTV.com.
Wish TV's education coverage is brought to you by Lilly, a medicine company.
Wish TV is your education station. The Trump administration is withholding more than $6 billion in federal funding for school programs all across the country, roughly $100 million here in Indiana. The freeze comes as officials work to review federal grants for compliance with President Donald Trump's agenda. One Hoosier says Indiana schools do not know what steps to take to ensure that these programs survive.
We do not know a thing. We don't understand why this has happened. We're not sure if this is even legal, but we have to act as if there could be a possibility that we will not receive this funding.
These grants fund programs like summer school, English language learning, and teacher development. 9:06 now. President Donald Trump has signed into law new federal work requirements for Medicaid in Indiana. Some Democratic state lawmakers are concerned about the effects on Hoosiers. News 8's government reporter Garrett Berquist looks into the issue for this week's episode of All Indiana Politics.
The Congressional Budget Office estimates Indiana would lose 15% of its Medicaid funding over the next 10 years. State Representative Carrie Hamilton represents northeastern Indianapolis in the General Assembly. She says Indiana is one of the states that most depend on federal spending. She says exemptions to both state and federal work requirements for Medicaid won't work.
Well, the challenge is this bill is creating a whole new bureaucracy when the Indiana Republicans have shown they support with the new state budget doing similar requirements. So we're creating paperwork for folks to prove their eligibility. And as other states have rolled this out, including Georgia, for example, they've shown that people who are eligible, who are working and are eligible, have a hard time proving their eligibility because the system is so complex. So we understand that many people will lose health care who are eligible simply because we're spending all of this money to create a bureaucracy that they can't navigate. It's really designed to fail them.
Senator Todd Young says the One Big Beautiful Bill Act will deliver the largest tax cut in history for working and middle-class Hoosiers, expand the child tax credit, spur new economic growth and job creation, and advance President Trump's agenda. He also praised its investments in research and development and in the military. Be sure to tune in for All Indiana Politics as we take a deep dive into changes to Medicaid at both the state and federal level. It airs at 9:30 this Sunday morning, right here on Wish TV.